Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. We're going to get started a couple minutes after 1 o'clock just to allow more folks to get logged on to make sure our presenters get logged on okay. So we'll get started probably about 1:05 or so. Hi everyone, so for those of you who are just getting logged on, who just missed the first announcement, we'll probably start about 1:05 or so just to allow more of our students to get logged on and make sure that everyone's good on today's session. So I just dropped it in the chat, but if you'd like, feel free to introduce yourself, your name, what high school you went to, and what your major is, and we'll get started in a few. So you're welcome to turn your video on today for today's session. I encourage you to do that. Faces and names are much more fun than black squares. So we definitely encourage you to do that. But again, we'll get started probably in 2 or 3 minutes just to allow everybody to get logged on for today. There we go. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thanks to those of you who started introducing yourself in the chat. I love it. We have a really great session today, something that I think is super important, not just as students in general and taking care of yourself, but I think even more so, especially with what's going on in the world and what we're all dealing with. And for you all, especially in navigating and having your first college semester be completely online. It's a little bit isolating and a little weird, and I think harder than transitioning to colleges anyway. So I'm really excited about today's session. We have two really great presenters. So you'll meet Wendy, who is one of our counselors in our Counseling and Psychological Services office. And then you'll meet Lisa, who works with our university care team. And we'll talk a little bit about what the care team is and what resources it provides. And really the services and things that we want you all to know exist. Some of the things that your tuition already pays for, so you definitely want to take advantage. But more importantly, tips and resources on how to take care of yourself in navigating this environment and this situation, and hopefully contribute to your success here the first semester that you're here at CSUSB. So with that, I am going to jump over and toss it over to Wendy. So Wendy, you can share screen whenever you're ready, and we'll get started.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Well, I want to say welcome to everybody too. It's been kind of cool hearing, or not hearing because you guys aren't talking, but typing it into the chat where you all are coming from. I myself am a graduate from San Bernardino High School, so I'd be interested to know if anybody else graduated from there. Okay, so as Megan said, my name is Wendy. Wendy Brower Romero. I'm one of the counselors at Counseling and Psychological Services. So let me get my PowerPoint started here. Okay, so the initials after my name. So I have my master's in clinical counseling psychology that I actually got from CSUSB. So I'm an alumni as well. And then LMFT stands for Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist. So that's my official title as being a therapist. So for this particular presentation, what I want to be able to do is, just like what Megan said, give you a little bit more information on what are the services that we offer at CAPS, and what you can hopefully utilize when you start classes. One of the things that I hear a lot of students say when they come in through our doors or when I meet with them virtually is, oftentimes I'll see them in their junior or senior year and they'll say, either I didn't know anything about CAPS, I didn't even know that this existed, or I knew this existed, but I avoided it and kind of pushed it to the side. And now I'm coming in my senior year and I wish I'd come in my freshman year. So hopefully you can learn from the people that came before you and know that there's a lot of really great resources that our department offers. And absolutely, it's the cheapest that you're ever going to be able to access therapy. So utilize that from the very beginning, especially like Megan said, given how difficult things are right now with the pandemic. So let me go ahead and transition to talking a little bit more specifically. So we are open virtually, like the rest of campus. We are not physically present, but we are still continuing to provide services. So very shortly, I'm going to actually minimize the screen and share with you our website so you can see how to navigate the different resources that we review on our website. So we offer individual, group therapy, and same-day appointments starting in the fall. So I'll go ahead and review what that will look like in terms of what the first initial appointment setting, how you'll navigate that in a second. We also offer wellness workshops and webinars. So let me go ahead and actually minimize this page and go to our website. So if you go to our website, this is our main homepage. So like I said, we offer individual and group therapy. So if you are interested in group therapy, you can go to our group options here. And we are offering virtual groups as well. And so this is a list of all of the different groups that we're going to be offering in the fall. And it might seem a little weird to do group therapy virtually, but actually we had a lot of success over the spring quarter. And we had a lot of good feedback that people are really hungry for feeling connected with others right now. And this is a really good option to be able to do that. So For example, I'll use my group. I lead the meditation group, so that meets on Tuesdays, 4 to 5:20. And it is a therapy group. So if you're interested in one of these groups, how would you go about making that appointment? So what you'll do is, if you're interested in one of these groups, most of them require you to be a client at our center. And so what that means is, if you've never been seen by us before, you'll call in our number. And when I go back to my PowerPoint, you'll see our main line. You'll call our main line and you'll say, I'm interested in joining the meditation group. I'd like a pre-group appointment. And so that's the technical term. The pre-group appointment is you will meet with the facilitator of that group individually first before you join the group. And that appointment is either a half an hour appointment if you have been seen at our center before, which if you're coming in for the first time as first years, more likely than not, you haven't. So if it's your first time seeing a counselor through our center, you'll have about an hour-long appointment, sometimes a little bit less. And the purpose of that appointment for group is you'll meet with, like for the meditation group, you would meet with me, and I just ask a series of questions about trying to get a sense of what's your interest in the group, what are your goals, what are the things that you feel like you'd want to work on, and also because it's the first time you've been seen by our center, more background information of just to get a full, complete picture of who you are as a person and kind of your history coming into this particular group that you're interested in. And then the group facilitator will decide, after collaborating with you, is this going to be a good fit for you? And so if it's a good fit, then you'll be added to the roster, and then it's a commitment for the whole quarter. So we meet every Tuesday, for example, with the meditation group, 4 to 5:20. But the cool thing is we offer a lot of different groups, and they're offered at different days and times. So definitely check this out and see if anything really speaks to you. And if it does, just give us a call on the first day of fall semester, and we can set you up with a pre-group appointment to get you a meeting with the facilitator of that particular group. The other resource that I reviewed is workshops. So we do offer wellness workshops. When we were meeting face-to-face, we would hold them in the SMSU, but now we're doing webinars. So this is when you go specifically on our website to the workshops, and you can actually access the recorded workshops that we offered last quarter. So I'll show you what that looks like. So we actually offered a variety of different wellness workshops last quarter, last academic year, and you can click on any of these and access them. We have them uploaded on our YouTube page. And so it's a really just good resource if any of these seem really interesting. I mean, it's available for you. If you're wanting to look at upcoming workshops, so the workshops that we're going to be offering in the fall, you're going to go ahead and click on that. And these are the lists of the ones that we haven't yet done, but are going to start starting the beginning of fall semester. So you have to register with your student ID email. But we, again, offer a variety of different topics, like how to do online classes better, which is a really good one. I mean, very pertinent for what we're all going through right now, is transitioning to virtual reality almost. And so you'll see a variety of different mindfulness for compassionate life. That's what I'm doing. Overcoming imposter syndrome. So if you're interested in any of these, you can register and attend them live. Or if you're, let's say you have class during that time or work, after about a week after we transcribe them, we upload them, and you can view them after the fact as well. So that's one of the resources that we offer. Let me go back to my presentation here. So as I said, if you're interested, what you're going to do, you're going to call our main line. So our main line is 909-537-5040. And that's if you want to schedule an appointment. The wellness workshops, you only sign up through email. But if you want to schedule an individual appointment, a group appointment, or a same-day appointment, which I'll review what same-day appointments are in a little bit, you're going to call our main line. You can call us. We're open virtually from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. So you'll call and you'll set up an appointment with our front desk. They'll send you a link where you have to update some paperwork and sign some consent forms for us, and then they'll schedule an appointment with one of our counselors. If you have never been seen by one of our counselors, you do have to schedule a video appointment. And the reason for that is because part of our job as therapists is to really get a sense of who you are and to be able to connect with you and build a relationship. And it's really hard to do that if we can't actually see your face. So we do use a HIPAA compliant Zoom. So that's a version of Zoom that has added layers of protection. It's different than the ones your professors are using. And it's specifically made for medical and counseling staff. And so that's to add even more layers of protection to your appointments. So we do schedule through Zoom. Okay. And if anything pops up, if you have any questions, you can always ask me at the end of everything. And you can always call our main line if you feel like you have some lingering questions. You can always call our main line during business hours and they can help explain a little bit of this stuff to you too. Okay, so how do you know if you're eligible for services? You pay a student health center fee when you enroll in classes. So it's already included in your tuition and fees. So there's no additional charge aside from that. So when you call in to schedule your first appointment, the front office is just going to look up your student ID and verify that you're enrolled. They'll check and make sure that your student health center fee is paid, and then they'll schedule an appointment. So the vast majority of our students are eligible for services, especially you all being first years. I'm assuming that most of you are enrolled in such a way that you have already automatically paid the student health center fee. But as I said, that will be checked when you schedule your first appointment. What kind of problems are okay to discuss with a therapist? So that's another common question that we get. So basically, I would say anything that is causing you distress or is impacting your functioning. So impacting your functioning means sometimes people even come into therapy and say, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not the same student I was. I'm not the same partner I was. I'm feeling more irritable, but I don't really know what's going on. If you feel anything that is different than your normal baseline, you're feeling less happy, more irritable, more angry, more sad, more tired, that's something that you can explore with a counselor. More specifically, things like breakups, family conflict, any type of relationship distress. It could literally be anything, like your best friend or you are having struggles or conflict, any changes in mood or stress levels, any traumatic experiences, whether that be something that recently happened or something from your past. And that is not even a comprehensive list. So that just gives you a snapshot. But like I said, pretty much anything that feels like it's impacting you and your ability to be the person that you want to be on a daily basis, that's something that's worthy of talking about with a counselor. I'm also going to review some crisis resources in a separate slide, but I'm going to just give you a snapshot. So as I said before, our hours of operation are from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. That's when somebody will actually pick up the line and be able to schedule an appointment with you. If you call our main line after hours, so after 4:30 or on a weekend, in the middle of the night, on a holiday, if you follow the appropriate voice prompts, we are actually after hours connected to a crisis line. It's called Protocol. And you'll be able to speak with a counselor that can link you up with appropriate resources or help you kind of navigate the situation that you're currently in. Obviously, if it's an immediate, like urgent situation, 911 is always the best option. So if you're not in crisis, but you feel like you can't wait for an appointment. So let me tell you a little bit about what that is. And that's what I said in the previous slide of same-day appointments. We do offer same-day appointments, and an appropriate example of what a same-day appointment would be is, let's say you had a panic attack on a particular day, and you just feel like, you call into the front office at our at CAPS, and they tell you the next appointment isn't for another week and a half. And you said, I just had a panic attack. I feel like I really need to talk to somebody today. That would be an appropriate use of a same-day appointment, and that would make sense. And you can meet with somebody on the same day and talk it through. We don't want that line to be accessed in an immediate crisis. Again, 911 is the best option. or if you're actively like suicidal or actively thinking about causing serious harm to somebody else, those are things that are really needing more than just a virtual appointment. And so we really encourage you to go to a local urgent care or emergency room. Like I said, I'm going to review some other resources that might be appropriate in that situation. This might be a slide that you want to take a picture of, because it's always good to have these lines, these numbers at hand. So a national suicide hotline. So if you feel like you or anybody that you know is currently struggling with thoughts of suicide, you can call this, this hotline and you can speak to somebody who's trained to navigate those situations. If you'd rather just text, you can text home to 741-741. NAMI also has a lot of really good resources, specifically virtual resources that you like chat rooms, and sometimes they're broken down specifically for like people that are struggling with anxiety or depression, or so that's a really good resource if you're wanting even more support from what we're offering through our center. And NAMI just stands for the National Alliance of Mental Illness. So I know that's a lot of resources, but hopefully if it'd be helpful, I can always come back so that you can take a picture of that one. Okay, so really quickly, because I'm not going to go into extreme detail, because if you schedule an appointment, your counselor is going to review this. But sometimes this is one of the things that really gets people uncomfortable when they come into counseling, because they say, okay, what specifically can be maintained private in this situation? So I'm going to talk about confidentiality really quickly. So what you and your counselor talk about is confidential. It's private, protected information. Professors don't need to know you're coming to a counselor. Your friends aren't going to be notified that you're coming, your family. However, there are 4 exceptions that pertain to safety that we actually cannot maintain confidential. And so the first one is harm to self or others. So if we determine that there is an elevated risk of suicide or harm to others, we do have to take the appropriate steps to ensure that you're going to be safe or that other person's going to be safe. So when I say elevated, I mean, it's not just that you've had thoughts of what would it be like if I didn't wake up tomorrow. It's much more developed than that usually. It's planning, intent, means to either cause harm to yourself or to other people. Then that's when we would have to start to think, okay, we might need to involve a higher level of treatment. So that might mean calling the police for a wellness check to make sure that you're okay. It could mean contacting a crisis response team. So that's our first limit of confidentiality. We are also legally mandated reporters. So if it's discussed with us that somebody under the age of 18 is being abused or neglected, we do have to report that. And that does include the purposeful viewing and distribution of child pornography. Elder abuse is our other exception. So that's abuse or neglect of someone who is 65 or older. And then dependent abuse, so any form of abuse or neglect of someone who is 18 or older. But they are considered a dependent adult. So that's somebody that can't independently function on their own. Okay. Again, you will have this reviewed with you the first time you come in through counseling, when you meet with a counselor. And so if you have any questions about that, you can always ask the counselor that you're meeting with to clarify anything that you might still be unsure about. Okay, so as I said, these are further mental health support lines. So given the fact that we're in the middle of the pandemic, the CDC is actually offering mental health support if you feel that you've experienced an increase in stress or anxiety specifically due to the COVID pandemic. So again, this might be a slide that you want to take a picture of. So you can call this hotline. For Spanish speakers, there's a different line. Again, there's the text option. Also, the county of, both the county of San Bernardino and the Riverside County are offering no cost support lines, given the fact that we're in unprecedented times. So these are the numbers that you can access, and so you can call them. I believe the time of operation is from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And you can call and you can speak to a counselor if you feel like you're struggling. So again, this is just so that you have more resources, even aside from what we offer at CAPS. Or if you have family members that aren't enrolled, right, and can't access our services, maybe you can help them out by linking them up with these services. You can also go to our website, and just as I access the groups and the workshops, we have a specific tab that is for crisis resources. And then that will separate into over the phone crisis resources and in person. So there are clinics that you can access both in Riverside and San Bernardino County where you can actually go in and be assessed by somebody if you're in a mental health crisis. So those are good resources to check out. Part of our department, and this is one of the things that we're currently in the process of hiring a new survivor advocate. But one of our services through CAPS is actually survivor advocacy. So essentially that is someone who is also a confidential service who is there to advocate and connect with resources, individuals who have survived either sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, any intimate partner violence. Currently, like I said, we're in the process of hiring that in that position. So right now we're partnering with our community resources. So if you feel like you need survivor advocacy services, these are the numbers that you can access and you can call, and they'll be able to link you up with whatever services that you feel like you need at this time. So ranging from San Bernardino County all the way out to Coachella Valley. So again, you can visit this website to see as we update if we've hired somebody. Hopefully within the fall semester at the beginning, we'll have somebody already in that position. The Student Health Center is a separate department than us, but I did want to really quickly review them because oftentimes people do confuse us, and we're actually physically part of the same building when campus is operational. So the Student Health Center is still offering virtual appointments. You can call their main line. So this is the Student Health Center is where the doctors and nurses are. If you need like birth control or physical appointments, things like that, you can call this main line and get more information on if that particular service you could do virtually or if they're going to refer you out. You can also call this number, the 855 number, to access a 24-hour non-emergency nurse advice line. So if you just want to get advice on what should I do, and it's not an emergency situation. The California Department of Health Care Services has also launched a particular line just for the people that fear that they have COVID-19 symptoms. And you can call this following number, the 877-409-9052. And one of the good things about the Student Health Center and how we partner with them is that they do have psychiatry services. And so psychiatrists are also mental health professionals, but their background is not in clinical counseling like my background is. Their background is in medicine. So they're medical doctors. So oftentimes they partner with us because we might be working with somebody in therapy and we might refer them over to get medication. So they are offering psychiatry services right now virtually as well. Okay, that's a lot of information. But if you have any questions, please let me know. And again, our number, can't say it enough, is 909-537-5040.
If you have questions, you can drop them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. Wendy, I know one of the questions that we get a lot as well is, given that their fees are included in tuition, is there still a limit or can they go to unlimited, that's a hard word, unlimited number of sessions within CAPS? Is it limited based on individual versus group? Like, what does that look like?
Right. That's a really good question. So you won't get more fees if you continue to access our resources. So there are no additional fees. We are technically a short-term clinic, but that is kind of vague intentionally because what that really means is we're going to work with you on an individualized plan of what is appropriate in terms of, typically our students are seen every other week for individual appointments, sometimes every 3 weeks, depending on our availability and the current concerns that you're bringing into counseling. Right now, we don't have any limitation of, okay, it's 8 sessions, you get cut off. It's really individualized to just kind of determine what you're coming in for and the level of support that you're needing. Right now, we also don't have any limitations on if you're an individual, you can't do group as well. Right now, you can be an individual and you can also access group. And a lot of our students actually do that. And that can be really helpful. If at any point we do feel like, and just collaborating with you, that, you know what, maybe this every other week, because we don't provide weekly therapy, like it's not long-term. Some people need therapy a couple of times a week. We aren't unfortunately able to meet that level of services. So if we do feel that, you know what, actually I think you're deserving of something more or something different than we're able to offer, we do have a case manager and she is able to help us refer students to external resources or to utilize their private insurance or Medi-Cal to be able to link up with services that maybe are more long-term or more suited for the particular concerns that they're bringing in. So I hope that that answers that question.
I think that's perfect. And we get that question a lot, is like, okay, like I know my tuition pays for it, but like, what if?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. Well, seeing no questions, I think we'll jump into Lisa's presentation and then we can revisit Q&A afterwards as well. So thank you, Wendy. Next up is Lisa Root, our Associate Dean of Students, also from the Office of Student Conduct and Ethical Development. Don't let that part scare you. But then also a representative of our university's care team, and she will share all about what that means. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Let me pull up my own PowerPoint here, and thank you. I got bounced off the Zoom there for a minute too.
Oh, no. So I'm glad you're back.
I'm back in. It happens to everyone. So hi everyone. As Megan said, I'm Lisa Root and I am the co-chair for the campus care team. I had hoped that Jesse Juarez might be able to join us as well today, but he is with his family for his son's orientation at another CSU. So we're sad to lose him, but he's here in spirit, I think. He is our case manager, a case management specialist for the care team. So to just give you a little idea about, and I'm sorry, I still had the transfer students on there. This was intended for the first year group. The care team started out as a team of individuals from various offices across campus that would come together to assess referrals of information about students or community members that might be disturbing, might pose a danger to members of the campus community, might represent an emerging mental health issue that needed to get connected to resources, or might pose a safety issue. And many campuses adopted care teams after Virginia Tech, in light of threats to campus and potential safety issues. But our care team has really developed, we do have a threat assessment component. And so we encourage you, if you are concerned for someone's behavior, if it seems like they are stressed and experiencing depression, anxiety, if they're not already connected to resources like CAPS, the care team can be an intermediary to help link students to resources on campus like CAPS and others. But really our team has evolved so much that we are serving a lot of student needs that are not related directly to safety concerns, but really more about individual well-being, barriers to student success. We'll have students that are hardworking and resilient and then experience some sort of a crisis, and it might be a short-term crisis. It might be a financial crisis in the family. It might be something that really impacts their ability to be successful. And that's where the care team can come together to help work with that student, see if there's some short-term forms of support that can assist, certainly to help them continue and resolve the issues as much as possible. It might be, of course, a loss in the family, some sort of personal tragedy or occurrence. And that's where, believe it or not, there's this group that really is committed to trying to help students to make sure that they can get successful. And that might be even working with faculty or with academic advising to ensure that, you know, we can arrange incomplete or some sort of other support to support students as they go through that. So here are a few of the representatives that are on the broader care team. And depending on the issue, we'll discuss the impact. We might be concerned because a student was a housing student and the housing staff were concerned for that student and referred to the care team. It might be someone that was involved with some of our other organizations and anyone can actually make a care referral out of concern for a student, and students can refer themselves. And I wanted to note that we do have representatives from the Student Health Center and from CAPS. And as Wendy was talking about confidentiality, I wanted to really make clear that while they are on the team and can give guidance to the team of how we might handle a specific situation in terms of general information, they are not releasing any confidential information about any of their CAPS clients or student health clients unless they have gotten a release from that student, permission to share that information. So sometimes a student might work with our case managers first and end up getting connected to CAPS and might become a CAPS client. They're not going to share information back to the care team unless you give permission. And sometimes it's helpful because a student might continue working with reps from our care team. And so it might be helpful to share information to make sure that we're all kind of providing a circle of support. But that's your decision, your choice of whether to grant that permission. As we receive referrals, however, the care team itself, while we protect privacy, we do have under FERPA the ability to discuss student concerns if it's in the interest of the student's well-being and helping them be successful. If there's a concern, a well-being issue, that gives us permission to share some information in terms of students if it's not already protected under the confidentiality of a CAPS or student health agreement. So these are some of the folks on the team. And again, we'll receive information through a confidential a private web form. Generally, folks can refer through by email. They can send us information directly to the care team via email, and they can also call us through our care phone number. And I'll share all the contact information. So Jesse Juarez, as I mentioned, he's a social worker and is our case management specialist. And so for some of the training that he has, he's a good partner in working with mental health resources in particular. And there, as Wendy also was talking earlier, there might be times when students are looking beyond CAPS for mental health support. And Jesse is a good partner in that regard to link to community resources as well. As is, we're very fortunate. We're one of the only universities in California that has a cooperative agreement with our county. We have an embedded social worker that actually works for the county, but works with our team and is a member of our care team. And so she's a direct connection to some of the county services. There are low cost or free walk-in clinics and crisis units as well for students and, well, for any community members really in the county. And so we can assist students bridging to gap to provide services. Sometimes students might be concerned about a family member who isn't a student themselves. And so sometimes we can do connections and help that student get help for their family members through the county. So those are services that might not always be obvious that can help students, but dealing with a family member who might be going through mental health stresses can be very stressful for that student and might pose barriers to their success and might impact your studies. And so these are services, again, that we're trying to make sure students know about so they can find those resources on campus. And so let's see, we also have a connection between care and some of our basic needs resources. So let's see, so that's where we'll talk a little bit more about that, but in terms of financial resources and food resources and housing resources for students that might be experiencing food insecurity and housing insecurity, especially during these times with so many folks impacted by COVID. Certainly incomes have been impacted if there's been job loss either for the student or for their families. So that's a big part of how CARE has been helping right now. So these are the folks that are in the immediate CARE team suite, the staff that are in my office along with the student conduct team, and then the broader team that I mentioned are directors of other offices. And we meet weekly to come together and decide some of the best ways to support students that are referred to us. And there, as you'll see, the CARE hotline there, the 537-CARE is actually staffed by Jessie, our case management specialist, during our business hours. And then after hours, folks can reach us via email. And that email is care@csusb.edu. And someone is available 24 hours on call for the CARE team, just to monitor incoming referrals in case there are emergencies that need to be responded to right away. So to make that CARE referral, here's a kind of a snapshot of our web referral form. Our CARE website actually has that form, and you can fill it out through the web form and submit it. And you can also send an email directly to care@CSUSB. Either way will get to the CARE team. And again, even after hours, there will be somebody that will be monitoring those incoming referrals. This week, it happens to be me. I am the on-call staff member for CARE. And then in addition, as I mentioned, emailing us directly. Alrighty. So as I mentioned, more and more, we're seeing folks encountering basic needs, and our CARE team then recognizes that students aren't going to be successful in the classroom if they're worried about where they're going to sleep tonight or whether they're going to have enough food. And so that is more and more becoming part of our services. And one of our CARE team members is the basic needs coordinator who runs the Obershaw Dan and the PDC Den. And so those offices are open even though the campus is closed. So they have hours posted on their website, and students can access bags of groceries that they can then have to offset to help them if food insecurity is their issue. And there are also staff available that are trained to help students sign up for CalFresh. And if you're not familiar with CalFresh, that's a program, students have to meet certain criteria, but students are eligible for essentially additional dollars that can be used to purchase groceries through the CalFresh program. And staff at the Den, Jessie, in fact, our case management and our two social workers can both assist folks with signing up, and also available, some of the staff are trained also in the rec center and at CAPS. And so in addition to the CalFresh application, most of the staff have also been trained to assist students to sign up for Medi-Cal. So if you don't currently have insurance, staff, our social workers and some of the other folks in CAPS and student health can help students get signed up for Medi-Cal, possibly IEHP. There are various options. And then emergency housing, we're not currently offering on-campus emergency housing due to COVID right now. But once we are able to fully reopen, it's important that you know that we had been offering a limited short-term opportunity for students to stay at no cost in our residence halls until they get on their feet and we can get them kind of secured into a housing situation. That's not to say that we aren't offering as much support as we can, though, for emergency housing now. If there is a chance that a student doesn't currently reside on campus but might be eligible to become contracted and is currently experiencing homelessness, we can work with that student and possibly see if we can get assistance through financial aid, get them packaged in a way that might actually create the opportunity for students to become a resident on housing. And then there are also connections with other low-cost housing in the area. So our Jesse Juarez, as I mentioned, is actually designated as the campus liaison for homelessness and foster youth and former foster youth. So if that becomes an issue, if you know someone that would benefit from that connection, please have them call us. As I mentioned, Jesse's on vacation today, but he'll be in the office all next week, or in the virtual office. And then the care teams, again, work to create linkage to those resources. And so here's a little bit more information on the Obershaw Dan and their kind of the services that they offered last year. And so these hours, I'm afraid, are not current now for fall, but their current hours are in fact on their website. And as I mentioned, they're open 2 to 3 days a week at both PDC and San Bernardino campuses. And I already mentioned a little bit with the CalFresh information. And they actually work with several local food banks and are replenishing those food resources. There are a number of drives throughout the year to help with raising contributions for the Den. And if that sounds like something you want to get involved in, there's a number of opportunities for volunteerism as well. So this, again, is the contact information for the care team. And again, I encourage you, students will reach out to us if they know they need resources. And we've also been seeing more and more referrals from students about other students that could benefit from those same resources. So thank you for giving me a chance to talk about that. And I open it up to questions.
Lisa, I think there's one question that we get a lot is, so let's say I'm a student, for example, and my friend Wendy is super worried about me because I'm like crazy stressed out. And she writes a report to CARE about me. How does CARE contact me? Like, what does that process look like?
So every case is unique. And so I think as it comes across, we do an initial triage as the report comes in and generally consult to determine the best approach. And it may be a member of the CARE team reaching out by phone or email to ask if the student would be willing to arrange a time to have a conversation. And if it seems that it really is a crisis and it's after hours, then you might get a phone call directly. And if it's something that seems to be something that could wait until the next day, we may reach out via email and just say, hey, we're concerned about you. We'd like to set up a time to chat. So I really think every case is different in terms of the urgency. If it's a matter of just basically resources that might be needed, we might offer those by giving folks information via email. But if more of an intervention is needed, we may actually arrange a Zoom meeting or a live meeting, depending on the need. So depending on whether a student is living on campus, that we might actually have staff available to go in and check on a student, especially if we're worried about a student's own safety. So if someone is missing or if someone isn't responding and friends are concerned for that person's well-being, we may actually engage support services from campus or even law enforcement to check on that student to confirm that they're okay. So it really depends on the circumstances, but we are going to do our best to make sure that we've made contact. If the student isn't interested in support, then we will do our best to respect that. But we really do want to make sure that the students are aware of the resources so they can take advantage of them if they wish.
I think there's sometimes this, I don't know if freak out's the word, but sometimes it's like, oh, CARE reached out to me, like, because someone thinks something is wrong. And I think, especially for you all as our first year students on this session is, like, someone's reaching out to you because someone on campus is worried about you and they care about you. So whether that's a friend of yours, a roommate of yours, a sorority sister of yours, your professor, like it's because someone noticed something that is outside your normal way, right? Like when you're extra stressed out, like your friends know that, but when you are like extra stressed out and something's not right, like those people know like how to identify right that. So I think for both of you, both coming from counseling and from the CARE team, it's people are reaching out to you as students because
someone cares about you and someone is worried about you and how you're doing. I think even more so in this virtual world, right? Like,
even more so. And thank you for saying that, Megan. It's funny that we usually work with the referring party first to ask them, does this person know that you're referring them to us? And can we let them know who referred so that it's not a big secret? And so when we contact the student, we really are coming from that place of, this person was concerned about you enough, and we validated that concern. We're concerned for you too, and we want you to be successful. If it is something where we are concerned for someone's own safety, perhaps someone is thinking about self-harm, or heaven forbid, harm towards others, that's going to generate a much stronger response, as you might imagine, so that we can make sure that we're trying as much as possible to intervene. And sometimes we'll have students that are being harassed or being subject towards negative behavior, and we certainly want that to stop. So we will do an intervention there, and it might have student conduct implications. So it really is going to vary based on the nature of the behavior. But I would say the majority of the referrals that come to us really are just that. Faculty members get to know their students. And so, you know, they may see that someone's attending class regularly and participating, and all of a sudden they drop off and they aren't participating as much. And they're starting to exhibit some signs where the faculty member suspects that they might be experiencing something that's a crisis, but they really don't know what it is. So you'd be surprised that might generate a response, because folks really are concerned. This is quite, when we talk about the Coyote Pack, it's not just talk. It really is amazing that that folks are concerned if they see changes in behavior and changes that indicate that someone might be having some struggles.
for sure. I think on that note, can I refer myself to CARE?
Please, come on.
But like, you know, if I'm a student and something is just not right in my family, or, you know, I lost my job, et cetera, can I write to CARE and be like, hey, here's what's happening in my life. Like, can you help me?
Absolutely. And we're seeing that more and more. And you opened this conversation today about acknowledging COVID and the stresses that I think at first we went into this thinking it was just going to be a few weeks. And as this has gotten bigger and bigger, and folks really have had impacts, it's amazing how the prolonged stress is impacting a lot of us. So yes, students can refer themselves. And while CAPS right now might not, I hate to say this, but CAPS might not be able to see brand new students until school actually starts, because there's a kind of a waiting period before they can actually start seeing clients.
First day of class.
Yep, first day of classes. So if anyone is in need of care support before that, you can refer yourselves, and we can try to get you connected to one of our social workers. You can talk with them before getting access to CAPS. That would be just fine. Also, as we mentioned, COVID and the impacts, I'll share that on our CARE webpage and also on our basic needs webpage, there's a little button on the CARE page, and there's more information on basic needs about some grant opportunities that are available for students that might have suffered from job loss or other impacts from COVID. And for new students, you will be eligible to apply for those grants after August 12th. And that's when financial aid is dispersed, and that's when our calendar will allow new students to apply for those grants. So there's more information, like I said, there's a COVID equipment grant if folks are needing support for internet access and so forth. There's a fund for general COVID support. You must show that you have been impacted by COVID, either by job loss or loss of income, or needing to purchase extra things due to going virtual. And then there's a general basic needs grant on the basic needs page as well. So the criteria is all on there.
Awesome. Thank you. I just dropped that link in the chat. So
oh, great. Thank you.
The CARE team link, and then just above that is the Counseling and Psychological Services website and the Obershaw Dan. So if you're looking at any of those resources,
thanks
link them all
very
there
much.
for you all. You're welcome. I do want to open up if there's any questions from any of our students on today's session. Again, you can either drop that question in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and let us know if you have any questions for either Wendy or Lisa. Give it a minute or so if anyone's typing. While we do that though, I'm gonna go back and share my screen. There we go. And I'll leave it there so we can see the chat. So this is unbelievably cool. School starts in like 2.5 weeks, which is just wild to me. As you all know, it's our first fall semester. So normally Wendy, Lisa, and I have a month or so left of summer. So this is very, very odd for us. But so with school starting in 2 weeks, we do have one more first year Friday session next week. It is with our friends in academic advising. So if you have any last questions about classes, changing majors, doing all that, you'll definitely want to join us for that session. And we'll try and get all your situations answered. I don't want to butcher your name, so I apologize, but I think it's Zashare. When are you able to move into the residence hall? So if you're living on campus this fall because you had approval to do so, they've been emailing and sending you updates to your Coyote email. So you'll need to check your Coyote email for those updates about when you're able to move in and all that information. So making sure that you're checking your CSUSB email for those updates. For sure.
And if I could just add to that,
yeah.
It's not just one time for everyone. They're actually staggering the arrivals,
yes,
again, to accommodate for COVID. So you'll have a specific time. That's why it's going to be in your specific email.
Yeah. So for all of you, regardless if you're living in housing or not, please check your CSUSB email every day. I legitimately mean like every day, especially right now leading up to the start of classes, because your professors will be emailing, you'll getting updates from the university. So you'll definitely need to make sure that you are staying on top of that. So I don't see any questions and I don't see any hands raised or anything. So with that, the session is recorded, of course. And so I will send you all a link to the recording. So if you do want to go back and review any of the information that Wendy or Lisa provided, you'll be able to do that, as well as some links and resources for a lot of the things that they mentioned through their presentations today. You'll also, in that email, get a link to a super brief survey asking for your feedback, not just on today, but any sessions or topics that you would like us to continue doing these first year Fridays on, even through fall semester. As we've been doing them all summer, but we know even as classes start and the fun begins, that there's definitely topics that might be helpful to you. So please take a chance to do that survey. It'll literally take you like 3 minutes, but we're looking for your feedback and your suggestions on what will be important or helpful to you as we navigate through fall semester and getting introduced to the resources on campus, even study tricks, things that we can do. So include those ideas in that survey if you can. I just want to say thanks, Lisa and Wendy. I really appreciate y'all being here today, as our new students do as well, and hopefully learning about all these resources. So happy Friday, everybody. Again, thank you to our
session and being proactive. This was wonderful to have all of you choose this session.
I agree. So we had about 10 students on today. So again, much as Lisa said, I applaud you and I encourage you to stay on touch with these resources. Again, use them. They literally exist for you. As Wendy shared, many of them are literally because you pay your tuition, you have access to these. So definitely take advantage. I encourage you to use these resources, favorite those websites so you have a place to go back and access them when you need them, the information that you need when you need. That you're not scrambling to find it, when you need it most. So thank you to all of you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And to all our students, we will see you all in a few weeks for the start of our fall semester. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.